survive, thrive, stay alive. It's time to get prepared with the Prepping Academy podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Prepping Academy. I am Forrest. We have Miranda and we have Kyle in the house tonight. And we're going to be talking all things medical and why medical training and equipment is so important. But first, let's see how Miranda's doing. And she took some time off. Miranda, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just trying to get back in the swing of working after being on vacation.
And did you do any prepping this week?
Just been working on the garden, catching up on pulling some weeds while I've been gone.
Awesome. And then we got Kyle, which he works in his yard like every day of his life and pampers his chickens. Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Yeah, I do pamper my chickens, but you know what? They are very special to me. So if I had to choose between them and you, I would choose them.
Nice. That's we don't really ever FaceTime, but every now and then you'll take a photo of a chicken on your shoulder, and that's going a little too far, don't you think?
I mean, it's bonding. They provide me with breakfast every day, so I figured the least I can do is give them a ride every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, Miranda, you have ducks, if I remember. Do you let them to sit on your shoulder?
I wish they would, but no, they run from me. I end up catching one and putting a leash on it, thinking I could walk it through my garden to eat bugs, and that did not work out. It looks cute, but it did not work out.
Yeah, I tried that with my rabbit, and that was, I think my rabbit almost died just trying to kick out of that and get away from me. It didn't work good at all. So I put him in a little cage, a pen in the yard. He loved it, but he does not like a leash around his neck. So
we definitely need to do a podcast just on rabbits and chickens and ducks here in the near future.
Yeah, if we put them in a cage, who would win?
I'm going to say my chickens.
Probably the chickens.
Just because of their claws, I guess?
No, they're actually pretty aggressive. So the breed that I have it's known for not being friendly to newer animals being introduced. Especially other chickens, but they will definitely peck something to death.
Wow. A duck,
especially if they see red.
Really? They don't like red?
No,
Yeah,
they'll sit there if you have like a sore. They'll pick at the red sore on another chicken or duck or rabbit.
Yep, even one of my little 2-week-old ones got a little taste of blood the other night trying to go after me.
Dang. My rabbits would just sit in the corner and I don't know. They wouldn't do anything.
The sad thing is now knowing that baby chick got a taste of my blood, I ordered 4 hens, but since it's going to get that testosterone, it's obviously going to be a rooster now.
You at least act like one. I got you. I'm with you. So I want to let everybody know that you can find our website at preppingacademy.com, and you can connect. You can send us a message there. We'll respond, and you can also rate us on iTunes, and if it's not a 5, don't rate us. Don't waste your time. We want 5. We love 5s, so 5s are great. And subscribe, share it with your family, friends, and even people you hate, and they might become your frenemy. So all things medical. And so one of us here is somewhat in the medical field. And Miranda, I'm sure you have some words about things we're going to say tonight.
Yes, we got to get that disclaimer out there first that we are not licensed medical doctors, that anything you hear tonight, we encourage you to go and do your own research, make your own decisions, that what we're discussing is either things that we personally do or have read that has been published by medical doctors, professionals.
So we're not doctors, we're not nurses, we're not EMT, we're none of that. But you know what? We can pretend to be. Right?
Yeah. I don't think I would trust you to be a doctor. Like, I don't even know that I'd really trust you to, like, put a Band-Aid on. But,
Scalpel,
I mean,
come on. I'll be operating on you, Kyle. I could save your life,
No.
man. Or would you rather
No.
die?
I'd rather die.
So if you need it
I
mouth
feel like
to mouth,
if I got shot in the left leg, I feel like you'd amputate my right.
Oh yeah. Well, there's mistakes that are made. There are mistakes that are made. But what if I was dying and I needed CPR, Kyle? What would you do?
I would run as fast as I could to find someone to give that to you.
Nice. That's comforting. That's why you're not in my group.
Yeah. You know, and just going back on that, you were saying about, doctors, that we are not doctors, but just remember that, do your own research, even whenever it comes down to the everyday life, not the shit hitting the fan. Your doctor is practicing. So keep that in mind whenever you're going for, routine checkups, testing. Always ask for a second or sometimes even a third opinion.
They're practicing.
Yeah.
What does that mean, practicing? That means that they're just experimenting on us?
They are not experimenting, but it's basically like if you were going to be arrested by a cop, would you rather be the first arrest or would you rather be number 250?
Well, I don't want to be arrested at all, but I guess the 250.
Yeah, because, the first time is going to be a little scary. They might accidentally pull their gun or pull their taser and tase you. And
Wow, Kyle, you know a lot about this.
No. No.
Yeah, you do.
Oh.
I've never been pulled over.
Yeah.
I'd be like, excuse me, officer, how many arrests have you made?
Yes. Yeah, before we go any further, can I see your wall, or whatever you call it, your credentials on your arrest? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not
Like,
medical experts. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you don't have at least 50, I can't step out of the vehicle.
Yeah. So we're not medical experts, but we do know a lot about medical because we've done training. We own the tools. As preppers, we feel like it's a requirement to have the right equipment, the tools that we need, even if it's Band-Aids, and have some basic training knowledge as well. That's just not even preppers. That's just being a good citizen and a good parent and a good brother or sister or son, where you can help family members or people you love or even people you hate. Because I know that Kyle would help me. I do know that. He says different, but I know he would.
Yeah, see, it's not hate you have to worry about. It's indifference.
Indifference. Great. Well, I hope Miranda's around. She'll help me. But
I was just kind of thinking he might pee on you, if you're on fire or something. Maybe.
Pee on me? Are you talking about?
Oh,
Yeah.
if you were on fire, I would pee on you.
Oh, great. Thanks, man. How about if I got stung by a jellyfish, the Friends episode, would you pee on my leg?
That actually doesn't work. I'm afraid I just have to shoot you.
Oh, great. I like the decision making you're making already. It's just, we got a problem here.
I mean, unless we need it to be quiet, then it'd be a knife to the back of the head.
Yeah. Oh.
But I mean, I don't think we have to worry about a zombie sort of situation. Just don't scream if you get stung by the jellyfish.
True. Okay. So I just can't let you know, or you shoot me. Great. How about if I got a hangnail? Shoot me.
No, I'll hand you a pair of tweezers.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So
all right, well, let me wrangle you guys back in because
yes.
medical can be the number one prep for some people. We always say a mag or water or security is the number one prep, depending on who you ask. But for, somebody can't go a day without their medications. For them, medical is the number one prep. Or if they have an accident and they're bleeding out, medical now becomes their number one prep.
That is true.
That is absolutely. And, I actually just seen a story today where they were talking about Walmart was going to make basic insulin cheaper, so it was more affordable to those individuals who really needed to get it that were low income. That's
And they
definitely
already
something.
have a program at Walmart right now where actually over the counter, which means without a prescription, you can get 2 vials. They're $25 each, but you can get it over the counter of regular insulin. That is the very first insulin, so it's not going to be as effective as most insulins that people use today. It's more of what we like to term a meal coverage insulin, but it's better than nothing. And you can, throw it back in a refrigerator, throw it in a solar refrigerator one day, and that might buy you some extra time.
So is insulin, is that something people can stock up on, meaning they don't regulate how much you buy and when you buy it?
That is the only case I've heard of being able to buy insulin without a prescription. And most insulin nowadays are more advanced and more expensive. An insulin pen can cost about $300. And so unless you have that money out of pocket, a doctor's not really able to write you an extra one of those. And you have to keep them in the refrigerator. Once you take it out of the refrigerator and start using it, it's only good for about 30 days. Textbook. I'm sure there's people out there that, use it longer than that, trying to get it to last longer or not waste it. But it does supposedly lose its potency.
So why, and I
Effectiveness.
don't know the answer to this. And why don't they make insulin where it doesn't have to be refrigerated? I mean, could they make it in a powder that where you can then put it in a liquid form and then I don't know. I don't know anything about what I'm talking about.
That would be great. That way it would be a prolonged shelf life, because unfortunately and I hate to say this, but unfortunately in a grid down situation, even if you have lots of insulin stored back in a solar refrigerator that's going to stay a constant temperature and going to last forever, eventually that insulin will run out.
Which would make sense if they had some kind of powder form where you could make your own, or something where it can stay in a state where it doesn't need to be refrigerated. I don't know. I don't know the science, but that sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds like something. Maybe you could make that in a sun oven.
Yeah, I just need some what do you call people that they volunteer? Yeah, volunteers, that we can try that out. Could you dehydrate insulin? That's in a sense a question. So anyway. So
let me ask you guys, talking about the medical stuff, what are you probably most scared of encountering in a grid down scenario whenever it comes to medical emergencies? And like, what do you feel like is the most common thing that you're going to come across, but the most scary?
Miranda, you go first.
My mind, I can't pinpoint it on one thing, but mine would just kind of go to things that you have to have a surgeon for. If you have a major heart attack, you need a heart stent, or you might need a coronary artery bypass grafts where they, and that's an extensive surgery. Gunshot wounds sometimes, can require, extensive surgery. I just kind of go to things like that where, nowadays something happens, we could rush you to the hospital and save you, but in a grid down situation without a true operating room, we won't be able to save the person.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I don't get the answer.
You will in a second. Wait your turn.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the general point that I'm kind of going for here is there's going to be a lot of difficult calls for people, just based on the fact that there are so many different types of medical emergencies that we can encounter. It's not possible to know them all, and I mean it's nothing like a person, but just dealing with even my chickens over the past few weeks and trying to figure out what symptoms equate to what disease and what antibiotic to treat with this, and is it viral, is it bacterial, how do I need to treat it? It's going to become a million times more complex for people. So it's really important to have some sort of basic medical training, but then also have the mindset to know that you're going to face those situations and you want to have some good resources, preferably, some good books with some illustrations, because YouTube might not be something that's going to be there for you.
Right.
Now you can answer.
Yeah. So I was going to say kind of the same lines as what you were saying is when a grid down happens, I think we're a little bit more riskier with our food and our water, which we shouldn't be. But my biggest fear is, I mean, you know, the gun. I mean, that's like the worst case scenario for sure. But is, you know, someone getting could be a cold, or it could be you know, something that was in the water that made them sick, and you don't know until a point that you don't, you know, you don't know how to diagnose. And that's why you were talking about books. You know, I got books like the what's it called, the Survival Medicine Handbook by Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy. That thing's amazing. So if you have antibiotics, which I would think everybody on this podcast listening would know that, you know, fish antibiotics, and you know, they're the same as human, a lot of them. And the book helps you with, you know, diagnosing the issue, and then how much the antibiotics you should take and for how long. Now, again, we're not doctors, but these are doctors and a nurse that kind of writes this information that kind of helps you. And having the antibiotics, and but not more than just having the antibiotics, you've got to know how to use them as well. And that's what some of the books can be helpful for.
Yeah, and definitely whenever it comes to antibiotics, it's one of those things where you need to make sure you're checking as far as what you have and what you really need to abide by the expiration dates. Because I know there are particular ones that can become quite toxic if you allow them to get to a point where they're going to expire. They weren't stored properly.
Right.
Yes, the most important one of those being the tetracycline family. Doxycycline is a popular antibiotic within that family that when it expires, it actually becomes more potent and will cause kidney damage to the point that the kidneys can shut down, and you will, you know, die from it in a grid down situation.
Yeah, and it's really.
But nature provides on that one.
It does, and it's one of those things where not just for humans but also for animals, you want to be really well aware, because I know tetracycline is something that you can use across the spectrum for livestock. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones in particular that I've come across. I know it's like I want to say amoxicillin, tetracycline. Gosh, for the life, I've spent so much time reading over this stuff for the past 2 weeks just for my chickens. That's insane. But I actually got some medicated chick food I had ordered from Amazon, and it came in expired. And I'm happy I checked, because that particular antibiotic, if it goes bad, will actually kill them. So I ended up tossing all that out. But God, imagine how much worse it is if you're trying to give this stuff to, you know, your child or friend or wife or whatever. You really have to be cautious with that, because you're not going to have a doctor there standing over your shoulder to say, is this right?
Right.
Correct. Yes.
You're just going to have a book. But that's why it is important to have a group of people or a community of people, because you may not be the medical expert, but you do need some medical experts in your community or group. And that's why PrepperNet always, you know, promotes groups and a community of people, because you do need talent or knowledge from many different sectors of just life. And, you know, a dentist and a doctor and a nurse, I mean, what great asset that would be to have in a grid down, where we all can't, I mean, there's not a doctor, nurse, and dentist to go around to every survival group, but maybe there might be. I wouldn't say go kidnap them, but that would be very bad. But having them, or at least having some of that knowledge in your friend group, would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you touched on it briefly, but medical emergencies that we'll come across, you know, they can be across the board. It can be something with your vision. It can be your hearing. Hearing damage is actually probably going to be a major thing for people, because if there's ever truly a crap hit in the fan sort of scenario, a lot of people are not going to be paying attention to muzzle awareness. You're going to have a bunch of amateurs out there blowing out each other's eardrums. Dental stuff, you know, If you're stressed out about what's going on in the world around you, you're eating God only knows what, you're not taking care of yourself the way you should be, people dealing with depression, the next thing you're going to have is a huge amount of dental issues. I don't know about you guys, but I've never had to have a root canal. I would not want to try and have a root canal because that is not going to happen in a grid down. You're going to have that tooth pulled, and you're going to have it done without being knocked out.
Kyle, I can
We
give
will
you a
get
root
knocked
canal.
out, but
Kyle, I can give you a root canal. That would be a pleasure. It'd be my pleasure.
Well, lucky for you, I don't have to worry about that because dental is my specialty.
Okay, good. So, some of the items. Go ahead, Miranda.
I was just going to say one thing that me and my husband do is we actually get our teeth cleaned every 3 months. That way, something does happen. We've had a recent tooth cleaning and had our teeth checked. And if there was something, it would have gotten taken care of immediately. And then that way, hopefully, if something were to happen, we're not sitting there needing a root canal or a cavity or something like that snuck up on us. So that's one thing we do to try to stay ahead on that one.
I will tell you just from my knowledge based on trying to avoid dentists. Probably not what you want to do. You want to probably step that back to at least 6 months, if not just go back to a year, because every time you're going in for a cleaning, you're actually scraping away healthy enamel. You're actually going to be putting small micro scratches inside the tooth, which is actually going to make it more capable of getting caries. The other thing is if you're using like a standard, toothpaste like Colgate or Crest or something like that, it's one of the worst things you can use because they have glycerin in them, and they're actually going to be coating your tooth, preventing you from actually absorbing healthy calcium in there. Because the idea behind the fluoride is that the calcium that occurs in your saliva will work with the fluoride to bond back to your tooth to slowly heal back your enamel. Because you can heal back your enamel. You can actually still repair a tooth, despite what a lot of dentists say. So using a product like that with the glycerin, it's coated. The calcium and the fluoride aren't really doing anything.
Just take my toothpaste now.
Did y'all know that the toothbrush was invented in West Virginia?
I find that amazing. I just know it wasn't England.
Well, it was West Virginia because any other state, it'd be called a teeth brush. Okay. Someone will get, I'm going to get some flack there. Have y'all never heard that joke? Sorry.
Did you note my silence?
Yes. Dude.
So just to take a step back, there's just one thing I want to say, because I asked you guys kind of what you fear, and I'm going to tell you real quickly what I fear, and you will see how quickly it cascades into an avalanche of poo, is people not having their meds for mental health disorders.
Yep.
Because there is a large percentage of Americans that rely on anti-anxiety, antidepressant, antipsychotics, and then you also have a number of Americans who are using drugs recreationally. Not to mention the plethora of other psychoactive drugs that are out there, and then you have things like fentanyl loose on the market. I think whenever the crap really hits the fan, we could be dealing with a huge epidemic of mental health crisis and people just going completely off the rails. And not just that, but a lot of these drugs, if someone is just cut off of them without weaning, they can go into seizures. So that's kind of my thing.
Yeah. And then too, one thing to think about, it's not like what I'm really worried about, but is when the grid goes down, we're not going to have proper water and sanitation practices that we used to have. And so a lot of the illnesses that our ancestors dealt with are going to come back, like typhoid fever, dysentery, cholera. We'll be out maybe in the woods and getting Lyme disease, things like that. That you also need to kind of research and know how to treat. Because those are ones you don't really hear about anymore every day.
Right. So let's talk about items that I'm a carry and conceal. I carry my my gun pretty much everywhere I go. I do carry a tourniquet with me. And then I also have an everyday bag with me, at least within my reach of my car, and I'm, when I'm out, I'm somewhat near my car. But so what kind of things do you guys carry in your everyday bag? That I mean, there's some normal things that we all carry for sure, but anything that is kind of crazy that could help people in their and matter of fact, tell everybody what an everyday carry you should have in there. Yeah.
Miranda, I'll let you go first.
Okay. I have a kind of a small little pouch that holds a lot that I have in all my vehicles and all my bags. And it basically has a little of everything because I want to always be prepared. But I have like a tourniquet, chest seal, C-locks in it for bleeding, gauze. I prefer the abdominal pads over the little small gauze pads. It's got like tape, duct tape, and I'm trying to think what else. And then I have like ibuprofen, burn gel. Trying to think what else in it. I carry peppermint just because it works as a great headache relief. Bandages. Yes, peppermint will relieve a headache for me much quicker, like almost instantly, versus like ibuprofen. Which I carry ibuprofen with me just as backup. Trying to think, but I just carry those with me all the time, even like if I go to the beach. I have a tourniquet with me. My friends laugh at me, but if something were to happen, I would be able to make, hopefully step in and be the difference between somebody, living and dying if I have something on me that can help them.
Right. And I think it's good for people to have this and be trained on these things, simple things, even like a tourniquet, because I mean, you might not be in a group, but you have a family, you have coworkers, and you have friends, and you never know when you may have to use these. And I witnessed the other day, looking at Kyle's medical kit, and it's not I mean, it's not small.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have a modular system, so everything's kind of broken down into different pockets, different types of emergencies. But I mean, I know we've talked about it before with my everyday carry to my bug out bag to what I carry in my truck to home. I kind of have like a redundant resupply system. But that said, is for everyday emergencies, I'll be really honest. Just for legal purposes, I would never recommend anyone without training ever grabbing their everyday bag and trying to, administer like a breathing tube or a chest seal or something that you're not really comfortable and you might be able to actually do more damage than good. Just because if something bad does happen, you might turn around and get sued for it. So, I mean, I've definitely seen it fast.
Yes. That I agree with that, but there are some laws to protect us in common knowledge care, though. Miranda, you may know a lot more about
the Good Samaritan Act.
Yeah, so tell us about that, because you're probably a lawyer too. We just don't know it.
The Good Samaritan Act would kind of protects against, like, somebody fell over and you start doing CPR, but maybe they didn't really need CPR. You're protected under that. Now, I still wouldn't be trying to, give them a tracheotomy where you kind of hold in their neck and shove a pin in. Definitely don't do that. You're not covered under that. But it's just very basic stuff that they would expect, or not expect, but if somebody on the street knew it and did it, and they would just fall under the Good Samaritan if they caused minor damage. But it has to be something basic.
Right. But if it was my family member, I would do anything I can to save them. Or
because I would hope they wouldn't sue you.
Right. And if it's in a grid down, my community or my group, if something happens, I would definitely probably try to get second opinions, but do everything I could that of my knowledge, extend it from, like a phone call from, getting help. If there was no help, I would do everything I could of the knowledge that I have, or at least try to find someone around me that had the knowledge to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even know how to do a trach. Actually, I do have the pins, the pressure relieving pins or whatever. I wouldn't even. I do know how to administer them, but I probably would never do it. You know what I'm talking about, Miranda?
Yes, and I would only ever do that in a grid down situation
Right.
where help's not coming.
Yes, absolutely. Now, putting a tourniquet around Kyle's neck, I'll do that anytime.
I was just going to say, if you get shot in the leg, I'd be happy to stab you in the chest with one of those.
It might be the major pain effect, distract with a different pain.
Oh, yeah, my leg
Absolutely.
didn't hurt anymore. So Kyle, you carry one in your you carry one, you have one in your vehicle, which I have one in my vehicle. And because of my vehicle, and I know Miranda, one of my vehicles is almost like an EMT bag, minus some of the bigger things that I wouldn't be trained to do, but it is a pretty well packed bag. And is that what you have, Kyle, or do you have more of just a glorified first aid kit?
No, there's definitely some good medical equipment in there. And part of it is kind of the hope that eventually I'll find someone to be in my group who actually has some really good medical training so that they can then use that, just in case they don't already have their own. But the redundancy definitely does not hurt.
And
But
Miranda,
I think I've told you before, if it really comes down to it, I am either going to cauterize something or spray medical glue on it and wish you the best.
great. Thanks, man.
Staples are a good alternative. Also, a lot of people take all the suture classes and this and that. And if anybody's ever watched somebody actually suture, it's almost like an art how the surgeons do it. And I couldn't even imagine trying to suture myself. So I bought staplers. I feel like I could push through the pain of stapling myself. And then it's actually kind of painless to remove them, I've been told.
Yes, well, I've got a stapler as well. I've got several staplers because they come sealed in a pack that is sanitized, or what do you call it? Whatever that is.
Correct. They're meant to be disposable. They're sterile and meant to be used once
sterile.
and disposed of. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a couple boxes of them that, and that's probably the method that I would use as well. But what I don't have in my kits, and I'm sure Kyle does, is I don't have any numbing agents. I wouldn't even know. I'm just now thinking of that now. So if I'm stapling you, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah, a lot of those numbing stuff doesn't work a lot. It's more for scrapes. Like you can get the really high-powered lidocaine first aid sprays, and they can help some, but yeah, you wouldn't really want to get near an open cut either.
I guess Kyle has his Jack Daniels or whatever, his moonshine.
Yeah, you literally, I was waiting for you to pause. I was going to say, yeah, I got a bottle of Jack there. That's pretty much what's going to work. But I mean, honestly, there are other ways to kind of mitigate pain. Taking their mind off of it, honestly, with other stimulation further up the central nervous system. I know with ice and heat, I've heard can work. Breaking their finger. I can try that on you at some point.
Great.
But honestly, whenever it comes to having pain-free operations or procedures, whether it be, on your body, internally, dental, whatever, you're really not going to have that option. I know that there are some things that people can make, and I'm not going to go into that because I know a little bit about some of this stuff, but we'll just say that I would not recommend anyone try to make anything that would make someone pass out, because certain ones of those can cause permanent liver damage and death. So you don't want to do that. And chances of finding someone who can put you under to do a procedure are going to be pretty slim.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we all carry
Which is a good
in a car. And go ahead, Miranda.
I was going to tag on to that about, and I guess an advanced version of this would be to learn different herbal medications, because most of our pharmaceuticals were plant derived, and they figured out a synthetic way to then make them in a lab. So if you can kind of learn what plants to look for, and maybe then plant them in your, transplant them to your yard, you can grow your own medicinal garden to make your own tinctures and salves with.
Yeah.
I've
So
never
how much
heard
time should someone learn? Like I know there's all kinds of herbs that that you can take to replace most of your medicines, but essentials, herbs, good eating. I mean, there are. How much time should someone? Because that's a whole. I mean, you could go and get lost in that world and never do anything prepping. So, how much time should people spend in that arena?
I mean, in all honesty, it's one of those things where people should know what they're personally dealing with and what family members are dealing with, and focus on those particular things, in my opinion. And you don't need to sit down and try to learn everything. You need to learn those specifics, and then hopefully you can branch out later on as it's necessary, and have some good books on making natural medicines, making salves, tinctures, things of that nature. And for as long as I've been into that sort of thing, I'll be honest, it's not a cure-all. A lot of that stuff takes longer to get into your system to really feel an effect. And I've heard people say, hey, like wild lettuce is a great painkiller. Not really, honestly. There's a reason that we have things like ibuprofen, Aleve, and stuff like that. It does, kick in a lot quicker. And if people are looking for things like, more powerful painkillers, all the studies are out there say that ibuprofen pretty much does just as good a job as any of the major painkillers that are out there.
Correct. There's actually a study that has been going on where they are looking at combining, where you would take ibuprofen and then wait like 2 hours and then take a dose of Tylenol and then wait the respected hour duration for each one and then take them again. But you would be basically kind of alternating between the two, and that it was supposed to be as effective as taking morphine without the side effects of morphine.
What?
Correct. Yeah, ibuprofen is actually processed through your kidneys, whereas Tylenol is actually processed through your liver. So backing the two of them up is a good way to kind of knock out whatever assortment of types of pains you're having.
Yep.
So what? Okay, so we got our kit. I mean, so I'll just tell everyone listening that you can get, you can buy kits already put together. We know that Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy on doomandbloom.net or .com, they have some. Also, Skinny Medic, and what's his website, Miranda?
Medical Gear Outfitters.
Medical Gear Outfitters. He has some. I would warn people about buying them on Amazon, just because people, they buy the cheapest stuff from China. Not that things from China are bad, but a lot of things from China are bad when it comes to medical. And they put it in this bag and then they sell it for half the price that Skinny Medic and Dr. Bones sell it for. And that's because the stuff is cheap. You don't want to use a tourniquet from made in China. I've seen time and time again that they break and not, and just practice applications where we're learning how to do tourniquets, they break, and you don't want one of them. You don't want to risk someone's life by using something cheap like that. So buy the good stuff. Just know that your life may depend on it. That's the things that you're carrying, because a lot of policemen, they'll carry 2, 3, 4 tourniquets on them. And the reason why, two of them are for themselves. So if they get shot or something, their partner or they can put it on themselves. And then the other ones are maybe for someone else. But just because you see someone carrying a tourniquet, don't think that's for you. That's probably for them. If they don't need it, then they would use it. But buy the good stuff. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes, I've seen and heard stories of Skinny Medic easily identifying fake tourniquets. And that's one reason I kind of just try to stick to ordering from him or North American Rescue, just because I know he can easily spot a fake. And if he were to by chance somehow get one, that he would immediately know that it was a fake.
Yes. And I hear Kyle's chickens. He must be talking to him. He said chicken
They're
whisperer.
getting a little. I'm keeping them up too late. But no, I honestly just save all the cheap stuff for you. I actually have a bag that just says Forest.
Oh, so if I need it, great. Oh,
but to tag on to what you said about the kits, definitely buy from like people that you named off. Don't go to like Walmart or these other places and buy a first aid kit, because most of the time you're just really getting a box of bandages and a few pills. And you could make that yourself so much cheaper with things that you would actually really need. I mean, I think the cheapest first aid kit you can get at stores like $20. Well, you can go to the Dollar Tree and put together your own first aid kit for a lot cheaper with a lot better things in it and more useful things.
Right. Yep. And so you can find these lists all throughout the internet of things that you need in your IFAC or you need in your bug out bag. There are lists galore. So so we're not going to go through the whole list, but just know that for the sake of your loved ones and yourself and your friends, maybe you should consider carrying one. So I do have another question. Do either one of you carry like a one on your person at all times? Like I have an ankle one that I have has a tourniquet and a chest seal, all that, the kind of the basic trauma, but I just cannot get in the habit of wearing that all the time.
I honestly do not. I keep stuff in my vehicle. The way I look at it, I mean, if I need a tourniquet, worst case scenario, I have a belt. I always wear a belt.
Well, sometimes you can't get a belt tight enough though, Kyle, but that's what I'll use around your neck. I mean, around if you ever get shot. Go ahead, Miranda.
I was just laughing to you guys.
Oh yeah.
So I'm the same boat as Kyle. I need to carry one, but I don't. I actually bought the ankle carrier from Skinny Medic at Heritage Life Skills recently, and I haven't put it on yet just because it's it's getting into summer season.
Right.
But
yeah, that looks odd when you're wearing shorts.
Yeah. Yep.
So what else do we need to cover in the medical area here? Oh, training. How about some training? So I've been to North American Rescue in Las Vegas and been through their entire trauma training. I've done a wilderness training. I've done 2 classes in wilderness. One was wilderness 1, one was wilderness 2. I've done Skinny Medics training. I want to do Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, and as soon as they start their classes back up, I will definitely take one of theirs because I just want to go see them. They're good friends, and so I've been to, and I've done Stop the Bleed. I've been to first aid. So I've done a lot of training. It doesn't make me an expert. It just means I've gone through some training. It's hard to practice some of these things, but what's some training or ways that we can learn? I mean, how do you learn, Kyle? I mean, because you're not in the medical industry. What, YouTube videos and practice on your child?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I will just kind of look at videos depending on what I'm curious about. I mean, I retain a lot of knowledge just based on things I've been through, friends, family, pets, stuff like that. Like, I mean, I honestly think the biggest thing that people don't really understand about a medical emergency, and it comes down to, Miranda will probably be able to say this, is honestly going to be the mindset of not panicking. And I think that's something that a lot of people are going to have a really hard time not doing.
I would agree,
that's
and
kind of my
with
piece.
that.
It does, for sure. And I'm not saying anyone shouldn't get training, but there are a lot of individuals who even with training will panic.
Right.
That adrenaline's going to spike.
vision's going to narrow. They're going to forget everything that they were supposed to do, because training in a controlled environment versus actually going through something, very different cases. And I mean, like, Forrest, you're a great guy. If I need a chest seal put on, I don't know how well you're going to be able to execute that. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, I've been trained, man. I can do that. I've got the mindset. I've got the mindset. So let me tell you the training I went through at North American Rescue. The last day, we're at the door, and we got a team of like 5 people getting ready to rush in with live victims with they have been with makeup and like Hollywood style. If their bones sticking out, you're looking at their leg with a bone sticking out with blood all over them, or or a gunshot wound. I mean, they really did the works with the makeup, and so we were ready for that, and we're going as a team. We're psyched, and as soon as they opened the door, they threw some flashbangs, some smaller ones, and there were strobe lights, and it was smoke going everywhere inside this building. And we had to go in there and find them. And they literally had someone following each person as we're evaluating people. And I got to a guy that needed a chest seal. He actually had, his chest was literally bleeding from his chest, and his clothes were wet, and there was a puddle of blood. And I had to assess him. And I had a guy monitoring me to make sure that that I did it right. And the first time, it really scared the crap out of a few people. But we passed. I mean, I passed, and I have military training as well. So I think I could do that pretty easily on you. The scary thing is, I mean, I could do it easily. The scary thing is if it's a family member. That is where things would get a little bit dicey.
And you should. That sounds like awesome training, and to help with kind of preventing freezing or anxiety is to keep taking that training. Don't just go once and think that, oh, you're good to go. Keep going back for it.
Yeah, that costs too much money to do that. Maybe Kyle and I in my front yard, we'll get some firecrackers and some ketchup. And we can practice.
Well, the great thing about like Heritage Life Skills and Prepper Camp is a lot of these classes are there where you can go in and do some of these things hands-on.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to drive home there with what I was saying. Is dynamic training is going to be the most important, and just being able to kind of build the mindset, because not everyone has it. But there again, that does become the problem, is the expense of something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not
and
cheap.
Not everyone's going to be able to travel out to Vegas.
True. So in PrepperNet, we do have training, that goes on in over 100 cities, close to 100 cities every month. And, some months it is medical. And I know in Charlotte, we've got medical. I think it's coming up next week is medical. I could be mistaken. And I know that so getting training and just after once you get the knowledge, just doing it over and over and practicing or seeing it becomes, second nature, supposed to. So Miranda, outside of some of your training, have you been to like Skinny Medics or Dr. Bones or Stop the Bleed classes for training?
I've attended them through bigger events such as Prepper Camp and Heritage Life Skills and PrepperNet Bug Out Camp. I actually took a class on labor and delivery because I just, kind of threw that out the window. So I took that and got a refresher, but I'm still going to panic if I ever have to deliver a baby.
That would be.
But it did. It definitely made me feel more confident, though, that maybe I could at least kind of maybe remember what to do, the steps.
Yeah, that would be awful to have to deliver a baby and a grid down.
Yes, that would be. Yeah.
That's why whenever the crap hits the fan, no sex.
Yeah, no sex. Well, Kyle, if you ever have a baby, though, I'm there for you.
I have to stock up on birth control.
Yeah, no sex. That's advice from Kyle. Awesome. So, Well, any other things that we haven't covered, Miranda? I know you're the organized one and you have a list and make sure we cover everything. Anything we haven't covered?
I guess just kind of trying to summarize it with some action points of, taking some baby steps, working on, start building that first aid kit, looking at what medicines in your family, or sorry, what members in your family take medications and trying to get extra of those, going and talking to the doctor, trying to get some extra few months. Sometimes people say, oh, there might be a snowstorm or a holiday and I run out of medicine, and can I just get a 3 months prescription at a time so that doesn't happen? And then prevention, taking care of ourselves now, making sure that we're preventing injury and sickness and trying to be as healthy as we can so that if the grid does go down, we're not, relying as much on medications as less as we can be. Or
now, Miranda, just a quick question. If you had a family member that routinely ate multiple steaks in one sitting, how would you handle that as far as their cardiovascular health? Just saying like, hey, it's a lot of red meat. Maybe you should, portion a little bit better. Maybe throw in some surf and turf, do a little bit of shrimp instead of doing, 2 16-ounce steaks.
But that's
a good thing, or you can do scare tactics.
Okay, but what if this family member, that's the only time he eats it is like once a month, but when he sits down, he'll eat just 2 steaks and just kind of be at peace and just enjoy them. I mean, that's okay.
Once a month? No, I think that's probably like once a week sometimes, maybe at least every other week.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds like this family member is forced.
Oh, thanks, Kyle. That's funny. Hey, I do have this question. Question and a suggestion. To give extra meds, I always have told people, hey, if your doctor won't give you extra medication, then you need to find a new doctor. What would be your solution, Miranda, or Kyle? I mean, because people need more than 3 months worth of medication sometimes. I mean, and it's good to have more. I guess there's laws, but why don't doctors trust you? I mean, I used to take a pill for my blood pressure. I don't anymore. But why wouldn't the doctor just give me a year's worth? How's that going to be harmful? I mean, if I could kill myself with 1 bottle, what's 12 bottles going to do to me? You know what I mean? So I don't understand that. Go ahead.
They cannot write more than 30 days on a controlled substance, like pain medicine. And then a lot of it is limited by insurance. Some people will run into that issue where their insurance may only allow them to get a medication filled every 30 days. And then some of them have a 60 or 90 day plan, and it just depends on what insurance you have. And then also some medications have to be adjusted, like thyroid medication, even blood pressure medication. You could be taking it 1 month and it's working great, and then the next month you changed your diet, so maybe your blood pressures are now low with that medicine, and the doctor wouldn't know it unless they saw you. And there's a fear that if they were to give you 3 months supply at a time, you would not come in for that potentially weekly or monthly lab testing to make sure that that is the correct dosage. But if you can build a good rapport with your doctor, and your doctor's like, okay, you are a good patient, I know I can give you 3 months of this medicine, and you'll come in and get your labs checked, and we can adjust it. But then you run into the issue of, okay, now your medicine's been adjusted, but your insurance already paid for another medication for that month. Will they cover this medication dosage change? Because they technically already bought you that medicine. So and then if you have the money, you can pay for it out of pocket, which would negate that insurance issue with getting extra months, or, if your dosage changes, getting more medication on top of what they've already paid for.
Okay. So Kyle, is there any medication, or do you have any suggestions of people if their doctor is not friendly and go, no, I'm not going to write more than 30 days? You got any ideas?
I mean, you could always just report him to the medical board and say he tried to touch you. But short of doing that, short of doing that, I'll be honest with you. One of my biggest issues with a lot of preppers, and I've seen this at many prepper meetings over the years, do not complain about your medication when you are unhealthy. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but there is one thing that most people forget, that in a grid down scenario will kill you very quickly, and it's because it's been killing you for your entire life, and that is complacency. If you require blood pressure medication or something along those lines, and it's something that comes down to, you need to lose 45, 50 pounds, now is the time to do that. I mean, because you will do it in the future because you won't be eating. But if it's going to detrimentally affect your health, and it is already affecting your health, stop what you're doing, quit messing around, and just, for the people that you care about, the people you're prepping for, start being responsible for your own health. Don't worry about going to a doctor. Take action. Just do what you need to do, especially for people out there that are complaining about their knees, their back, etc. And they're walking around with 20, 30 extra pounds, just do it, and you won't regret it.
I agree with that, but there are some that can't fully control some of their conditions. But yes, I agree. And there's other alternatives. I don't know if getting medications from Canada and England are against the law or not, but I know people do it all the time.
I believe Canada has put a lot more restrictions on what you can and cannot get. And I think for the most part, it's been kind of closed down. I know, me personally, I actually get my contacts and glasses over from the UK, as opposed to doing a yearly checkup for contacts. I know people can do that easily.
And I will say this, that during COVID, there was some medicines that I thought was important for my wife and family. And we got a doctor's appointment from the UK, and the doctor prescribed me some medications, and then I got a pharmacist from UK to actually mail me my prescription. They told me that was not against the law. So, but yes, I have done that myself, and many of my friends have done that. Now Miranda's going to tell us we're going to jail.
No, I mean, that sounds legal. And I mean, I know people that get their medicines from India. I'm not sure what they order from, but they say, it looks exactly the same as the medication that they were getting in America, and it comes through customs and is not held up.
Yes.
And, they thoroughly check those packages for things. And so, however, I was surprised that if you go to Mexico, I've heard people going to Mexico and buying medications. But everything I kind of heard was that you couldn't then bring it across the border unless you had a prescription for it.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's something new that they did, or maybe that was a bluff. Because I was in Mexico when all this kind of started with COVID, and I was like, oh, maybe I can buy some hydroxychloroquine down here and take it home. And got my bubble busted on that one, so I didn't even try it.
Well, that's what I was buying from England. They were shipping it from India because that's where all hydroxychloroquine is made, in India, apparently. But yes, that's where I got mine, and all my family, a lot of my family members, and a lot of and friends, and they did the same thing. I had the contacts over there, and so yeah. We thankfully, out of what I got, very little was used. So we didn't take it as preventative. We only took it if you actually got it, which my wife and I did get COVID, and we did take hydroxychloroquine for 4 days, because that's really all you need to. If you do it right, you need to go by. But anyway, I'm not a doctor. But any last words there, Kyle, before I put a tourniquet around your neck? I mean, before we end the podcast?
No. I'm just gonna stick to my guns whenever it comes to medical. I mean, there's definitely emergency things people need to learn, but the best thing people can do is start taking their health into their own hands.
That is absolutely, I agree with that. And I'm not I won't say I'm in good shape. Do you still like train? I don't train anymore. I need to. I need to start working on my cardio is what I need to do. I mean,
Yeah,
because
I typically do. The only reason I'm backing off right now is just pure and simply because I have the chicks down there. So it's,
the chicks.
you know, usually 85, 90 degrees in there. It's not the most conducive for doing squats.
You're so buff, it would just drive your chicks crazy. Is that it?
Yeah, you're funny.
Yeah.
Well, the number one rule is cardio.
Yes, and so that's who I am. I mean,
Yep.
gosh, if I had to hike out, well, first of all, if you had to hike with your bug out bag, that's some poor planning on your part. But that could happen. But man, I would dread that. Hike 10 miles in a day. I would pass out. I remember Kyle used to hike with didn't you like with your plates on? You'd go on a walk.
No, I used to put 50 pounds.
Yeah.
In my bag. Yeah.
Yeah. See, yeah, I put 50 pounds of water, food, and no, I'm kidding. So anything that we didn't forget, one last time, check around the house. Miranda, you got the notes, I'm sure.
Just another tack on to the prevention is making sure that you have a way to filter water in your setup plan and dispose of feces properly to prevent some medical issues that can happen in a grid down situation.
Yeah.
It all kind of ties in together and links back, just getting those set up and taken care of so something happens, you're not getting dysentery or cholera.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we've been talking about maybe prescription type drugs, but over the counter, for diarrhea, just over the counter drugs. There's a lot of different things for upset stomachs, for pain, there's so many ones over the counter that you should keep for sure in your pantry, or not your pantry, your medicine bag.
Yeah,
So,
Benadryl is one of them. It's great for swelling as well as allergies. Burn gel. We're going to be cooking over fires and stuff like that if something happens. So make sure you have a way to treat burns.
mm-hmm.
Activated charcoal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this has been. I mean, if I was stumbling across this podcast, I would listen to the whole thing. So. Well, guys, thank you very much. We finally got this thing recorded, and we got Miranda and Kyle. And who's going to be here? The next week's podcast is on what? Does anybody know? Trivia question.
I do not know.
I don't know either.
I don't either.
I don't either. So we don't know. Join us. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. Probably the best podcast out there for sure. So. Hey, join us, subscribe, and share it with your people in your group and your family members. And you can catch us on preppingacademy.com. That's preppingacademy.com. And, and we're coming every week to you guys. We hope you enjoy our content. And with that, I'm going to say good night, everyone. And not good night. They could be listening to this in the morning. Good riddance. So anyway, thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Prepping Academy podcast. Preppers Unite at www.preppingacademy.com.